Hello again. We are reading from the Complete Jewish Bible, which is a Hebrew translation of the Bible. And we begin with Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 through 9. Shema. Hear, Israel, Adonai our God, Adonai is one. And you're to love Adonai your God with all your heart, all your being, and all your resources. These words which I am ordering you today are to be on your heart, and you're to teach them carefully to your children. You're to talk about them when you sit at home, when you're traveling on the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Tie them on your hand as a sign. Put them at the front of a headband around your forehead, and write them on the doorframes of your house and on your gates. Matthew chapter 6, verses 9 through 14, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us the food we need today. Forgive us what we have done wrong, as we too have forgiven those who have wronged us. And do not lead us into hard testing, but keep us safe from the evil one. For kingship, power, and glory are yours forever. So we are on Genesis chapter 45. At last Joseph could no longer control his feelings in front of his attendants and cried, Get everybody away from me. So no one else was with him when Joseph revealed to his brothers who he was. He wept aloud, and the Egyptians heard, and Pharaoh's household heard. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. It is true that my father is still alive? His brothers couldn't answer him. They were so dumbfounded at seeing him. Joseph said to his brothers, Please come closer. And they came closer. He said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. But don't be sad that you sold me into slavery here, or angry at yourselves, because it was God who sent me ahead of you to preserve life. The famine has been over the land for the last 2 years, and for yet another 5 years there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me ahead of you to ensure that you will have descendants on earth and to save your lives in a great deliverance. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, lord of all his household, and ruler over the whole land of Egypt. Hurry, go up to my father and tell him, Here is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You will live in the land of Goshen and be near me. You, your children, your grandchildren, flocks, herds, everything you own. I will provide for you there, so that you will not become poverty-stricken, you, your household, and all that you have, because 5 years of famine are yet to come. Here your own eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that is my own mouth speaking to you. Tell my father how honored I am in Egypt, and everything you have seen, and quickly bring my father down here. Then he embraced his brother Benjamin and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept on them. After that his brothers talked with him. The report of this reached Pharaoh's house. Joseph's brothers have come, and Pharaoh and his servants were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, Tell your brothers, here's what you're to do. Load up your animals, go to the land of Canaan, take your father and your families, and come back to me. I will give you good property in Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Moreover, and this is an order, do this, take wagons from the land of Egypt to carry your little ones and your wives, and bring your father and come. Do not worry about your stuff, because everything good in the land of Egypt is yours. The sons of Israel acted accordingly, and Joseph gave them wagons as Pharaoh had ordered, and gave them provisions for their journey. To each of them he gave a set of new clothes, but to Benjamin he gave 7.5 pounds of silver and 5 sets of new clothes. Likewise to his father he sent 10 donkeys loaded with the finest goods Egypt produced, as well as 10 female donkeys loaded with grain. bread and food for his father to eat on the return journey. Thus he sent his brothers on their way, and they left. He said to them, "Do not quarrel among yourselves while you're traveling." So they went up out of Egypt, entered the land of Canaan, and came to Jacob, their father. They told him, "Joseph is still alive. He is ruler over the whole land of Egypt." He was stunned at the news. He could not believe them. So they reported to him everything Joseph had said to them. But it was only when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him that the spirit of Jacob, their father, began to revive. Israel said, "Enough! My son Joseph is still alive. I must go and see him before I die." And now we're going to Judges chapter 21. And this is the last chapter of Judges. The men of Israel had sworn in Mizpah that none of them would let his daughter marry a man from Benjamin. The people came to Beit El and stayed there before God till evening, crying out and weeping. They said, "Adonai, why has this come about in Israel? Why should there be today in Israel one tribe missing?" The next day the people got up early, built an altar, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. The people of Israel asked, "Who among the tribes of Israel did not come up to assemble before Adonai?" For they had made a great oath to put to death whoever did not come up to Adonai at Mizpah. The people of Israel became sorry for Benjamin their brother and said, "Today one tribe has been cut off from Israel. How are we going to obtain wives for those who remain alive, since we have sworn to Adonai that we will not let our daughters marry them?" Then they asked who from the tribes of Israel had not come up to Adonai at Mizpah, and found that none had come from Jabesh Gilead to the camp where the assembly was, since when the people were counted, none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead were found there. So the gathering sent 12,000 warriors there and ordered them, "Go and put the people who live in Jabesh Gilead to death with the sword, including women and children. Completely destroy every man, every woman who has had sex with a man." Among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead, they found 400 virgins who had not known a man by lying with him, and they brought them to the camp at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Then the whole gathering sent a message proclaiming peace to the people of Benjamin, who were at the rock of Rimmon. So Benjamin returned at that time, and the people of Israel gave them the women that they had kept alive of the women from Jabesh Gilead. But those were not enough for them. The people were still sorry for Benjamin because Adonai had made a division among the tribes of Israel. The leaders of the assembly asked, "What are we to do for those who still do not have wives? Inasmuch as all the women of Benjamin have been killed," they said, "there has to be a way to help the survivors preserve Benjamin's inheritance, so that a tribe will not be eliminated from Israel. Yet we cannot give them our daughters as wives, for the people of Israel had sworn, 'Cursed be whoever gives a wife to Benjamin.'" Then they said, "Look, each year there's a festival in honor of Adonai in Shiloh, north of Beit El, on the east side of the road that goes up from Beit El to Shechem, and south of Lebanah." They ordered the men of Benjamin, "Go hide in the vineyards and keep watch. If the girls of Shiloh come out to do their dances, then come out of the vineyards, and each of you catch for himself a wife from the Shiloh girls, and go on to the land of Benjamin. When their fathers or brothers come to complain to us, we will say to them, 'Give them as a personal favor to us, because we did not take wives for each of them in battle. You did not give them to them. That would have been you guilty of breaking your oath.'" So the men of Benjamin did this. They took wives for themselves from the girls who were dancing, as many as they needed. They carried them off, went back to the land of their inheritance, rebuilt the cities, and lived in them. The people of Israel then left that place. Each man returned to his tribe and family, and each man went out from there to the land he had inherited. At that time there was no king in Israel. A man simply did whatever he thought was right. And now we're going to go to Psalms chapter 45. It's by the descendants of Korah. A love song. My heart is stirred by a noble theme. I address my verses to the king. My tongue is the pen of an expert scribe. You're the most handsome of men. Gracious speech flows from your lips, for God has blessed you forever. Warrior, strap your sword at your thigh. Your splendor and majesty, in your majesty succeed. Ride on in the cause of truth, meekness, and righteousness. May your right hand teach you awesome things. Your arrows are sharp. The people fall under you, and they penetrate the hearts of the king's enemies. Your throne, God, will last forever and ever. You rule your kingdom with a scepter of equity. You have loved righteousness and hated wickedness. Therefore, God, your God, has anointed you with the oil of joy in preference to your companions. Your robes are all fragrant with myrrh, aloes, and cassia. From ivory palaces, stringed instruments bring you joy. Daughters of kings are among your favorites, and your right stands the queen. At your right stands the queen in gold from Ophir. Listen, daughter, think, pay attention. Forget your own people and your father's house, and the king will desire your beauty. For he is your Lord, so honor him. Then the daughter of Sor, the richest of peoples, will court your favor with gifts. Inside the palace, the king's daughter looks splendid, attired in checker worked, embroidered with gold. In brocade, she will be led to the king, to you, with the virgins in her retinue. They will be led in with gladness and joy. They will enter the king's palace. You will have sons to succeed your ancestors. You will make them princes in all the land. I will make your name known through all generations. Thus the peoples will praise you forever and ever. And we finished Mark, so today we begin Luke chapter 1. Dear Theophilus, concerning the matters that have taken place among us, many people have undertaken to draw up accounts based on what was handed down to us by those who from the start were eyewitnesses and proclaimers of the message. Therefore, Your Excellency, since I have carefully investigated all these things from the beginning, it seemed good to me that I too should write you an accurate and ordered narrative, so that you might know how well-founded are the things about which you have been taught. In the days of Herod, king of Judah, there was a Cohen named Zechariah, who belonged to the Abijah division. His wife was a descendant of Aaron, and her name was Elisheva. Both of them were righteous before God, observing all the mitzvah and ordinances of Adonai blamelessly. But they had no children, because Elisheva was barren, and they were both well along in their years. One time, when Zechariah was fulfilling his duties as Cohen during his division's period of service before God, he was chosen by lot, according to the custom among the Kohanim, to enter the temple and burn incense. All the people were outside praying at the time of the incense burning, when there appeared to him an angel of Adonai standing to the right of the incense altar. Zechariah was startled and terrified at the sight. But the angel said to him, Do not be afraid, Zechariah, because your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elisheva will bear you a son, and you're to name him Yochanan. He will be a joy and a delight to you, and many people will rejoice when he is born, for he will be great in the sight of Adonai. He is never to drink wine or other liquor, and he will be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, even from his mother's womb. He will turn many of the people of Israel to Adonai, their God. He will go out ahead of Adonai in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of fathers to their children, and the disobedient to wisdom of the righteous, to make ready for Adonai a people prepared. Zechariah said to the angel, "How can I be sure of this? For I am an old man. My wife too is well on in years." "I am Gabriel, the angel," he answered. I stand in the presence of God. I was sent to speak to you, to give you this good news. Now because you did not believe what I said, which will be fulfilled when the time comes, you will be silent, unable to speak until the day these things take place. Meanwhile, the people were waiting for Zechariah. They were surprised at his taking so long in the temple. But when he came out unable to talk to them, they realized that he had seen a vision in the temple. Speechless, he communicated to them with signs. When the period of his temple service was over, he returned home. Following this, Elisheva, his wife, conceived, and she remained 5 months in seclusion, saying, "Adonai has done this for me. He has shown me favor at this time so as to remove my public disgrace." In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a city in the Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin engaged to a man named Joseph of the house of David. The virgin's name was Miriam. Approaching her, the angel said, "Shalom, favored lady, Adonai is with you." She was deeply troubled by his words and wondered what kind of greeting this might be. The angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Miriam, for you have found favor with God. Look, you will become pregnant. You will give birth to a son, and you're to name him Jeshua. He will be great. He will be called Son of Elyon. Adonai, God, will give him the throne of his forefather David, and he will rule the house of Jacob forever. There will be no end to his kingdom." "How can this be?" asked Miriam of the angel, "since I am a virgin?" The angel answered her, "The Ruach HaKodesh will come over you. The power of Elyon will cover you. Therefore, the holy child born to you will be called the Son of God. You have a relative, Elisheva, who is an old woman, and everyone says she is barren, but she has conceived a son and is 6 months pregnant. For with God nothing is impossible." Miriam said, "I am the servant of Adonai. May it happen to me as you have said." Then the angel left her. Without delay, Miriam set out and hurried to the town in the hill country of Judah, where Zechariah lived, entered his house and greeted Elisheva. When Elisheva heard Miriam's greeting, the baby in her womb stirred. Elisheva was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and spoke up in a loud voice, "How blessed are you among women, and how blessed is the child in your womb. But who am I, that the mother of my Lord should come to me? For as soon as the sound of your greeting reached my ears, the baby in my womb leaped for joy. Indeed, you are blessed, because you have trusted that the promise Adonai had made to you will be fulfilled." Then Miriam said, "My soul magnifies Adonai, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior, who has taken notice of his servant girl in her humble position. For imagine it, from now on all generations will call me blessed. The Mighty One has done great things for me. Indeed, his name is holy, and in every generation he has mercy on those who fear him. He has performed mighty deeds with his arm, routed the secretly proud, brought down rulers from their thrones, raised up the humble, filled the hungry with good things, but sent the rich away empty. He has taken the part of his servant Israel, mindful of the mercy which he promised to our fathers, to Abraham and his seed forever." Miriam stayed with Elisheva for about 3 months and then returned home. The time arrived for Elisheva to have her baby, and she gave birth to a son. Her neighbors and relatives heard how good Adonai had been to her, and they rejoiced with her. On the 8th day they came to do the child's brit milah. They were about to name him Zechariah after his father when his mother spoke up and said, "No, he's to be called Johanan." They said to her, "None of your relatives has that name," and they made signs to his father to find out what he wanted him called. He motioned for a writing tablet, and to everyone's surprise, he wrote, "His name is Johanan." At that moment, his power of speech returned, and his first words were Braka to God. All their neighbors were awestruck, and throughout the hill country of Judah, people talked about all these things. Everyone who heard of them said to himself, "What is this child going to be?" For clearly the hand of Adonai was with him. His father Zechariah was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh and spoke this prophecy. Praised be Adonai, the God of Israel, because he has visited and made a ransom to liberate his people by raising up for us a mighty deliverer who is a descendant of his servant David. It is just as he has spoken through the mouth of the prophets from the very beginning, that we should be delivered from our enemies and from the power of all who hate us. This has happened so that he might show the mercy promised to our fathers, that he would remember his holy covenant, the oath he swore before Abraham Avinu, to grant us that we, freed from our enemies, would serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all our days. You, child, will be called a prophet of Ha-Elyon. You will go before the Lord to prepare his way by spreading the knowledge among his people that deliverance comes by having sins forgiven through our God's most tender mercy, which causes the sunrise to visit us from heaven, to shine on those in darkness living in the shadow of death, and to guide our feet in the paths of peace. The child grew and became strong in the spirit, and he lived in wilderness until the time came for him to appear in public to Israel. Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 through 26. May Adonai bless you and keep you. May Adonai make his face shine on you and show you his favor. May Adonai lift his face toward you and give you his shalom. Thank you again for joining us. Until next time, shalom.